hedonist, narcissist, demon, devil. As I've grown more comfortable sharing my deconstruction journey and become more immersed in the deconstruction community, these are just a few of the labels that I've seen leveraged against people who leave the organized religious system, the church, whatever. I recently had the label hedonist leveraged against me, and I thought this was fascinating because as I was sort of interpreting what that means, because I don't identify as a hedonist at all, it drew me back to the motivation that I think a lot of us assumed when we're in an organized religious system, that people leave the church or leave a religion because they want to get out into the world and be nasty and do nasty things and just have all the fun and be crazy and give into all the pleasures. And while when you deconstruct, I think a lot of us realize that things that we had shame and guilt around are not worthy of shame and guilt, and actually that they're very like natural and beautiful. And so we then don't feel the shame and guilt, which I think people may perceive as, oh, they just want the pleasure of this world. That actually was not my primary motivation for leaving the system. And 99% of the other deconstructionists I know, that was also not their motivation. The motivation often was driven by a logic. We hit a point where there were too many questions. And honestly, the questions, not even rooted in the like throwing it to faith, when we really look at it, was like, this system doesn't seem good. This story that I've been told actually doesn't read as like good and caring and loving. Like actually none of this is lining up with even like the core message of love. So forget all of like the bumps in the road of me getting from point A to point B, even on the road from point A to point B where I'm like swerving, trying to figure it out. I'm like, but none of this leads to a good end. That's one break, but it's also this realization that the world isn't some absolutely horrible place, that like we're not supposed to just act like we have dominion over everything. Humans are this paramount, like overall so much more important than everything else energy. And really, I think deconstruction is driven by a desire to connect with community, to connect with nature, to connect with our ecosystems, to connect with the world and connect with each other in a way that is rooted in depth. And the community that I've observed and been built and connected to since leaving the church has been an absolutely beautiful thing that I'm incredibly grateful for. If you are currently in the process of your deconstruction journey and you're seeing these words be leveraged, and maybe you've even had them leveraged against you, like, oh, the devil's just trying to get to you, you need to resist the temptation, or blah, 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 blah. One thing I want to make clear is that when this language is leveraged, when this fear is leveraged against us, it has nothing to do with us and everything to do with protecting the system. Because when people step outside the system, you have to rebuke that, because if you don't, you suddenly follow curiosity. And what a lot of people are so afraid of is that if they follow curiosity, their understanding of the world, their understanding of themselves, their understanding of how everything works begins to shatter. And we as humans will we will jump through so many hoops to protect our perceived identity. People call you a little devil, they call you a hedonist, they call you evil, blah, blah, blah. It's nothing to do with the deconstructionist. It has nothing to do with the person leaving. It's everything to do with protecting the organized religious system. And that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it right, and I have a lot of thoughts about that, but it is never really about us.